Good morning, everyone. My name is Maddie Kolpa, and I'm a member of the board here at Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. On behalf of the board and the program council, it is my honor to welcome you here this morning. As we enter this space today, know that you are surrounded by the love of this community where all are welcome. Whoever you are, wherever you are from, and wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. If this is your first time here or your 101st time, if you are here in the building or watching online, you are welcome here. If we can find the camera with the red light, wave a quick greeting to those watching us from elsewhere this morning. If you would like more information on our church, please fill out the visitor card in the pocket in front of you or visit our website, tvuuc.org, and select Stay in Touch. If you are interested in the religious exploration classes for your children or adult RE for yourself here at TVUUC, please visit the RE hallway after the service. You can find that through the double doors just past the kitchen, where you can speak to an RE leader. You can also find more information on our website or at the RE welcome table in the gallery. If you need any accessibility aids during the service, such as a large print hymnal, hearing device, or noise-canceling headphones, those can be found on a cart near the welcome table in the lobby. Our ushers will be glad to show you the way or collect one for you if needed. If you're visiting us with small children, we invite you to sit up front where it is easier for your little ones to see what is going on. Please don't feel that you must keep them still. All are welcome here, and we understand that silence is never completely silent. You should also feel free to change seats at any time during the service if you need to move closer or even just stretch your legs. If you or your children need to step out of the sanctuary for a moment, the E.E. Cummings room is a glassed enclosed room at the back of the sanctuary where you can still see and hear the service. We have a few announcements this morning. We have officially launched a new process for submitting newsletter items, calendar requests, and Sunday morning announcements. To help us make the most of our Sunday services, all announcements must now be submitted electronically by the end of the office hours on Monday before the service. They will be read from the pulpit by the board member on duty as a brief 1 to 2 sentence summary. Longer announcements will be shared through other channels, including the hallway TV monitor, the order of service, and more. To find the form for electronic submission, you can visit the homepage, calendar page, and members area of our website, and QR codes for easy access will be available soon. It is Family Promise time again. We will be hosting a number of families beginning in 2 weeks on Sunday, November 16th through Sunday, November 23rd. We need volunteers for all roles, especially meal preparation and overnight hosts. There is information in the order of service on how to sign up. We are excited to announce that the TVUUC 2025 Let the Sunshine In auction website is now live and ready for your donations. This event is crucial for our church's fundraising efforts and fosters community connection. This year, we're focusing on donations that promote togetherness, such as in-person dinners, events, parties, performances, and more, along with food delivery and travel. Please submit your contributions by Sunday, November 16th, and join us in making this auction a success. The 2025 TVUUC Thanksgiving Day Potluck Lunch will be on Thursday, November 27th. Food, family, friends, and fun. The doors open at 12:30. The meal is from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Games, puzzles, and activities are from 2 to 3:30. Please RSVP via Sign Up Genius or the sign-up sheet in the church lobby, or you can contact Barbara Lamb. Today is the opening day of the TVUUC Little Holiday Market to help support the TVUUC Little Food Pantry at the edge of the parking lot. You'll find wonderful arts and crafts items at our market, every item handmade by a member or friend of this church. Colorful, beautiful, amazing, yummy, and fun. Now more than ever, your generosity will help people in our community who are facing food insecurity. For more information, contact Barbara Lamb. And today's forum will be about artificial intelligence and the ideology of technological salvation that is being promoted by tech billionaires in Silicon Valley. Is AI going to bring us utopia or apocalypse? Or is AI a bubble that will cause an economic apocalypse? What are the social harms of AI and what can be done about it? We'll be discussing these questions and more. The conversation starts at 1 and childcare is available for parents. These announcements and others can be found in the back of your order of service and in our weekly email newsletter. Today is a Share the Plate Sunday, and to tell you more about what this means and how to give, here's Jillian Denham-Jones.
Good morning. This month's non-pledge offerings will support Allies for Knoxville's Immigrant Neighbors, a local organization dedicated to building a more welcoming community through advocacy, education, and direct support for immigrant families. Ways to give are listed in the order of service, including a QR code that will take you directly to the giving page. If you are watching online, click the blue Give button on your screen. Thank you.
After the service, please join us for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall. If you are visiting, would like a tour of the building, or have questions about our church, you can look for me there, and I'll be glad to chat and show you around. If you have questions about the path to membership, I'll be happy to put you in touch with our prospective member coordinator, Mark Mahundro. And now, if you have not already done so, please silence any electronic devices as we enter worship together.
As we approach the 250th anniversary of Jane Austen's birth in December, people all over the world are celebrating her life and work. And today, we are also celebrating the music of her life and times. Music was an essential part of Jane Austen's life. She practiced daily and with devotion. She kept a collection of a wide variety of piano exercises and sonatas, parlor songs, duets, and opera selections. She hand-copied many pieces in her collection because they were not readily available for purchase. When she had to move to a smaller house, she was forced to give away much of her treasured collection. So it can be presumed that the pieces that remained in her collection and are now available to us were her true favorites. Jane may also have chosen to keep this song, "Time Has Not Thinned My Flowing Hair," because of the wry humor for which she herself was known. At a time when unmarried women were dismissed as old maids, this song offers a gentle but firm rebuttal. The speaker, likely a young woman, declares that time has not diminished her beauty, her spirit, or her worth. It's a celebration of self-possession, a refusal to be defined by age or marital status. Like the heroines of her novels, the speaker claims her personal agency, echoing themes of feminine independence that Jane Austen herself explored with wit and nuance.
Come into this circle of community. Come into this sacred space. Be not tentative. Bring your whole self. Bring the joy that makes your heart sing. Bring your kindness and your compassion. Bring also your sorrow and your pain. Bring your brokenness and your disappointments. Spirit of love and mystery, help us to recognize the spark of the divine that resides within each one of us. May we know the joy of wholeness. May we know the joy of being together. Come, let us worship together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant. I invite you to join in hymn 317 in the gray hymnal, We Are Not Our Own. Very good. Once a time, there was a young girl who was walking through the forest by a creek when she saw a very sad frog. The frog looked very unhappy. And so she remembered a story that her mom had once told her about someone who kissed a frog and the frog turned into a handsome prince. And so she thought to herself, that must be why this frog is very unhappy. So she picked the frog up and gave it a big kiss. But then she looked at it, and it was still a frog. And she said, I'm sorry, I thought if I kissed you, you would become a handsome prince. And the frog said, that's okay, I don't want to be a prince. That's not what I want to be at all, but you've done something better than make me a prince. You've made me a happier frog. and the frog hopped off into the forest. And so if you ever are walking through the forest and see a little girl picking up frogs and giving them a kiss, don't stop her. She knows what she's doing. The frog might not change on the outside, but it may change on the inside. Because most of us, all we need is a little gentleness and kindness and courtesy to make us feel like royalty. That's our story for today. Now our learners and leaders will sing them to the classes.
In Austen's youth, the tradition of social parlor music usually meant that performers were separated by sex. But there were some composers, like Thomas Billington, who, in her lifetime, who began to write and arrange works for mixed social activities. The duet we're about to hear is written for 4 hands. You can imagine a parlor gathering where a gentleman and a young lady could sit on a bench together and not cause a scandal, thanks to musicians like Billington. In Sweet Senegal, also known as The Slave's Lament, is a haunting reminder of the human cost of empire. Published in 1792 and attributed to Robert Burns, it is one of the few 18th century British songs written from the perspective of the enslaved. Songs like this were sung in gatherings of abolitionists, where poetry and music served as tools of moral persuasion to humanize the enslaved, stir compassion, and strengthen resolve. Though Austen herself left no record of attending such gatherings, her world was shaped by them. Parlor events in support of abolition were common in her time, and her family was deeply intertwined with the movement. Her brothers served in the Royal Navy to intercept slave traders while enforcing the Slave Trade Act of 1807. One became a delegate to an anti-slavery convention. Recent research reveals that 3 of her 6 brothers were publicly involved in abolitionist activism after her death, including Reverend Henry Thomas Austen, who attended the 1840 World Anti-Slavery Convention in London. These family ties suggest that Austen was not untouched by the moral debates of her time. Her novels quietly interrogate the cost of inherited wealth and colonial power. In Mansfield Park, when Fanny Price asks about the source of the Bertram family's wealth, derived from plantations in Antigua, the silence itself speaks volumes. Her discomfort and unanswered questions mirror the moral evasions of polite society and reveal how women were often excluded from the conversation. Including the Slave's Lament in this service invites us to listen to the voices Austen's novels leave unheard. It offers a counterpoint to the drawing rooms and dances, a lament from the margins of the empire. In doing so, it deepens our reflection on conscience, complicity, and the quiet courage of asking difficult questions.
For the
A prayer written by Howard Thurman. The concern which I lay bare before God today is the need to be better. I want to be better than I am in my most ordinary day-to-day contacts with my friends, with my family, with my casual acquaintances, with my work relations, with my associates in work and play. I want to be better than I am in the responsibilities that are mine. I am conscious of petty resentments. I am conscious of increasing hostility towards certain people. I am conscious of the effort to be pleasing for effect, not because I genuinely feel the part. I'm conscious of a tendency to shift to other shoulders burdens that are clearly my own. I want to be better in the quality of my religious experience. I want to develop an honest and clear prayer life. I want to develop a sensitivity to the will of God in my own life. I want to develop charitableness toward my fellows that is greater even than my most exaggerated pretensions. I want to be better than I am. I lay bare this need and this desire before God in the quietness of this moment. Let us enter into silence together. Amen. You may remain seated, but I invite you to join together in hymn 127 in the gray hymnal, Can I See Another's Woes? Shay Hicks, who is an influencer on Instagram, regularly offers what she calls Appalachian Word of the Day. And here's the word of the day for the week. I'll try to do it how she does it. Hi, y'all. It's time for Appalachian Word of the Day. The word of the day is binary. I went to the store, but I didn't binary a thing. So I want to begin this sermon by telling a story, recognizing it reflects the binary thinking of an earlier age. Bob and Ann Bird of blessed memory were members of our congregation for many decades. And once when I was talking to them, they told me the story about when they were studying at Maryville College in the 1940s, where there were strict rules of gender segregation without a chaperone present. And one day they decided that they would do laundry together in the laundry room, unsupervised. But they got caught. And they were taken to the dean of students, and they were given a reprimand for this breach of etiquette. And Anne was in her 70s when she told me the story, and she turned to me and said, "Now you know our dirty laundry." I tell this story because it harkens back to a time when more attention was given to etiquette. In many ways, the etiquette of Bob and Anne's time is closer to the etiquette of Jane Austen's 18th century etiquette than it is to our sense of etiquette today. So, in many ways, the focus on etiquette can be oppressive, and yet the absence of clear etiquette can also be disorienting and cause many problems. One of the things I like about Jane Austen's novels is the attention they give to good manners, and they do it in a nuanced way. Sometimes a good person will not have good manners, and sometimes a bad person will have good manners. There's some nuances in there. But Austen was a vicar, a vicar's daughter, and some have said she wrote her novels the way many ministers write sermons. There was a lesson to be learned. And a lot of time was spent on the appropriate ways to treat one another, to anticipate other people's feelings, how our thoughts and words and deeds could affect someone else's feeling. Of course, sometimes good manners do not come from sincerity. As Mr. Darcy observes of Mr. Wickham in Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Wickham is blessed with the happy manners as may ensure his making friends, whether he may be equally capable of retaining them is less certain. If you know anything about English understatement, you know that Mr. Darcy just called Mr. Wickham a smarmy git, someone who's untrustworthy. Now, I first read Jane Austen in freshman year in college when the book Pride and Prejudice was assigned by our teacher, who had traveled in England and had specifically focused on Jane Austen country. And so when she was teaching us this book, you could tell she had walked down the streets and visited the homes and walked on the moors of these novels. When my wife and I were a young couple, we discovered the 1995 BBC miniseries, Pride and Prejudice, with Jennifer Ely as Eliza Bennet and Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy. And we watched every episode of that miniseries, and we now own it on DVD. There's something timeless about the contest between the independent, confident, and outspoken Eliza and the aloof, haughty, and somewhat imperious Mr. Darcy. In many ways, it's a story about Miss Eliza Bennet teaching Mr. Darcy how to have good manners as she breaches etiquette herself, tests the boundaries of good manners. Now, when I was a seminary, I got a scholarship to go to a Unitarian Universalist conference in Great Hucklow in England. It was a really neat experience, but one of our side trips was to Chatsworth House, which, if you've seen the BBC series, that is Pemberley. So everybody was walking through Chatsworth House, but I was walking through Pemberley. Pemberley is the elegant chateau that becomes, spoiler alert, the home to Miss Bennet and Mr. Darcy when they finally give into each other's charms and wed. The ice broken when the very aloof Mr. Darcy reveals a hidden side to himself and finally confesses, "In vain I have struggled, it will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." On that same trip in the Peak District, I happened to come across two trees, and they were close together, and their roots intermingled, and their branches sort of were interspersed with each other. And it struck me as an image of marriage, two lives grown together, becoming interconnected and interdependent, like Miss Bennett and Mr. Darcy, but also I was thinking of my wife, Suzanne, on the other side of the ocean and the interconnections that we have. And that's one of the things that intrigues me about the stories of Jane Austen and the attention to manners, because it seems to be an effort to notice how interconnected we can be, how interwoven our lives are, and try to respect that interweaving and be respectful of other people's feelings. Now, over my sabbatical, my daughter and I were sitting in a cafe in Paris, and we were watching our waitress give her customers lessons in manners. If you know anything about French culture, you know it's very important to say bonjour when you enter into a store or when you engage another person. To do so is incredibly impolite, and you know, a lot of Americans think the French are rude, but when Americans don't say bonjour, the French think Americans are rude. And so someone would sit down and say, "Café." And she would say, "Bonjour, un café, s'il vous plaît." And one of the reasons I knew that Sally and I had gotten it right, because every time she gave one of those customers a lesson in manners, she would look over at us like, "Who are these barbarians?" So you may go to a cafe thinking you need a coffee, but really you need a lesson in manners. But those are part of the niceties, part of the origins of bonjour is that you have to say it whether someone is high on the social scale or low on the social scale. It's a symbol of equality. It's a symbol of interconnection. So now our waitress had given lessons in good manners. Now, I mentioned this story about my sabbatical in France because it reminds me of the care and attention given to good manners in Jane Austen's novel, the care and attention to other people's feelings, the effort to show respect and cultivate good relationships. Many of these manners are outdated today, and they're based on a hierarchical, imperial culture. But one could argue that we need to reflect on what is good manners today. A few years ago, I read a book by Capricia Marshall called Protocol, The Power of Diplomacy and How to Make It Work. And she worked in the White House. She was the head of the Office of Protocol. And she illustrated in that book how sometimes good protocol, good etiquette is the difference between war and peace, strengthened alliances or estrangement, brilliant diplomatic success, or spectacular failure. So what she's talking about on the international level, she took down to interpersonal relations. And it occurred to me as I was reading this book that she was trying to do what Jane Austen does with her novels. How do we treat each other in good ways? Now, the protocols and manners of the 18th century, or even the early 20th century at Maryville College, will not work in our time. And yet, if Jane Austen were writing her novels today, I think she might give special attention to pronouns. He, him, she, her, they, them, and how the use of pronouns can either strengthen relationships or lead to estrangement. An attention to language based on our knowledge of the spectrum of gender identity and sexual orientation in our time. Indeed, most of the motivations around the efforts to teach diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is a desire to be courteous to each other, to practice good manners and not microaggressions, foster better and deeper relationships based on a clearer understanding of each other, to cultivate empathy, a vision that helps us to use our powers to heal and not harm, to help and not hinder, to bless and not curse, to move beyond binary thinking and embrace a way of life with more pride and less prejudice. It was the last emperor of France, Louis Napoleon. They said, this is a common statement that was made about him, they said he knew 5 languages and he could be silent in them all. This reminds me of a definition of a diplomat that someone told me. She said, a diplomat is someone who can think twice before saying nothing. And so let me invite you to imagine a world where there is more time for silence and less time for Twitter or X or whatever they call it now. More time to think before we speak instead of speaking before we think or posting before we think. In the Unitarian Universalist Church, we follow politics. We think politics is very important. And yet in our time, I think many of us have found a need to take a break from 24/7 social media, 24/7 cable news, in order to experience the silence that is so much wiser than noise. Many scholars have speculated about the lost letters of Jane Austen. Why were they destroyed? Well, maybe they were destroyed because Jane Austen and her family realized not every private thought and private correspondence needs to be a public utterance in order to take care of other people's feelings. I only wish some of our elected officials were so wise. And so I bring this sermon to a close. I'm mindful of the words Jane Austen wrote in her novel Mansfield Park. Human nature requires more lessons than a weekly sermon can convey. So as we leave this church, let's be open to more lessons that life has to teach us. But also remember that we can be tactful, discreet, courteous, kind, and gentle, even when we're airing our dirty laundry.
Jane Austen's novels remind us that true connection is forged not in grand gestures, but in quiet constancy, in the courage to wait, to hope, and to remain true. This next piece, a duet from the 1791 opera The Siege of Belgrade, was part of Austen's prized musical collection. Its theme is one Austen returned to again and again, the power of fidelity, of promises honored, not just in word, but in deed. As you listen, I invite you to hear not only the voices of two lovers, but the echo of a deeper covenant, the kind we make with one another in community, in friendship, and in love that endures.
Good morning. I'm not John Coffey. My name is Mebby Jackson, and I'm a member of the spiritual care team who seem to be playing musical chairs these days. We are a group of heart-centered, deep listeners who support the caring needs of the community. We are available by phone or text, and you can find the number in your order of service or on the website. Feel free to reach out if you need a sympathetic ear or know someone who needs our support. And also, today is the second Sunday of the month, and our listening booths are active. After the service, look for someone standing by the library. So our hearts go out today to Martin Cole, who is active in the Personal Beliefs and Commitments program before church services on Sundays, and he is hospitalized following open heart surgery. He is in recovery and not receiving visitors, but would welcome the card that is on the caring table if you would like to sign it for him and keep him in your thoughts as he makes his recovery. And Lily Saraya, the granddaughter of the late and great Pat Carter, has asked that we lift up her father, who is having some health concerns of late. She is asking for some help with him, and she's taking time off of her own career to help for a companion gardener to spend a couple of hours a week working with her Baba in his garden. So please contact Carolyn Rogers if you need to learn more about how you can help. And our hearts also go out to Jeff and Susan Kovac, who were in a bad car wreck yesterday afternoon while coming home from Gene Burr's service. They were attended to at the scene and released to go home. We are in touch with Rachel and if there are any further updates. So please also see Carolyn if you need more information. And Lillian Mashburn is happy that she may be coming home from rehab. Her work there is doing really well to heal that broken femur. She will need assistance when she comes home when John is at work, so please contact them if you can be of assistance. And so some joys here, especially from our local newspaper. We have some people here celebrated in them. Chloe Andrade Walters and her garden featured in last week's newspaper on the front page of the Positively East Tennessee section. She was sharing her wisdom of the meditative qualities of being a gardener. Thank you so much, Chloe. In the same edition, our Gordon Gibson appeared as a guest columnist writing about the wisdom of the importance of voting, quoting the Mississippi civil rights advocate Vernon Dahmer Sr.'s words, "If you don't vote, you don't count." So thank you, Gordon, for your kind words and inspiring our community to get to the polls. And earlier this week, a congregant from another congregation praised our own Chris Buice for the wisdom he shares in his contributions as a guest columnist. Chris was recently featured in the quarterly publication of UU World with the bilingual multicultural congregation in Paris, where he served as visiting minister in April. So thank you, Chris. So please visit the caring table to sign the cards for some of these people today. And always, we hold all these joys and concerns, the ones spoken and unspoken, in our hearts. So as we keep them in our hearts, let's sing our little song. Thank you so much.
I invite you to rise and body your spirit for hymn 93 in your gray hymnal, To Mercy, Pity, Peace, and Love. Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.